This review copy of Ultimate Chicken Horse was provided by the developer Clever Endeavour Games. Before we get too far into this multiplayer 2D platformer, let's get the elephant out of the room first and foremost. There's no single player, at least not one in the traditional sense. Player-made level challenges can be uploaded and subsequently downloaded, and this is the closest thing there is to a traditional 2D platformer. Some of these are really great, like this ancient temple. There's the typical Super Mario Bros. Inspired level, of course, and then there are the vast majority of levels that are either too easy or way too difficult, but both are ultimately uninteresting. Fans of Little Big Planet should know the feeling all too well. There's simply too much uncurated content out there, and none of it is professionally made. Worse yet, the level editor comes nowhere near the power of Little Big Planet, which shouldn't be a surprise, but you're better off playing Little Big Planet. If anything, at least that game has a halfway decent single-player campaign. Ultimate Chicken Horse's level editor is much easier to use, but the point is, you're not here for the single player. What you are here for is the multiplayer, and this game features a very creative and unique premise. Players simultaneously race to reach a flag at the end of the level, with the first ones there earning more points. Afterwards, each player adds a randomly selected obstacle to the field, either to help or hinder progress, and then they go at it again. This process is repeated until the game ends, and the player with the most points wins. The physics and controls are okay, but I believe that I've played better. New Super Mario Bros., Super Meat Boy, and Slime-san all have a really natural feel to their physics. And while Ultimate Chicken Horse does try to imitate them with a sprint button and the ability to wall jump, it doesn't feel quite right. But it's not all that bad either. With a couple days of practice, it's fairly easy to get a good grasp on the controls. There is a bit of a learning curve, but once the controls are mastered and you have an understanding for most of the obstacles, then the real fun can begin. It is truly incredible how different the game can be from match to match, with different obstacles drastically changing how the game is played. Unfortunately, there are 3 major flaws that go a long way towards ruining this game. First off, let's get this out of the way. I've never had a game crash more often than Ultimate Chicken Horse. One of the crashes even went so far as to delete my save data, which wasn't too big of a deal since I didn't unlock much yet, but still, that's pretty disheartening. Second, as I've already mentioned, no single player. Ultimate Chicken Horse has a great premise around partially building levels, and that could have gone a long way towards a great campaign. The developers did explain their reasoning to abandon the single-player campaign in favor of online multiplayer, and to be fair, I can definitely see the multiplayer being the stronger of the two. However, it does seem like an empty hole that needs to be filled to really feel like a complete package. Third is, ironically, the multiplayer itself, and the fact that there's no automatic matchmaking. The developers have stated that matchmaking is on the way, but it does seem to be taking quite a while for a game that launched over 6 months ago on PS4 and over 2 years ago on PC. What's implemented instead is the old style of hosting rooms or searching for rooms that have been created. As you might have guessed, half the time there are no open rooms, and when there are rooms, they're usually private parties and you get kicked out right away. And of course, you're going to run into less than rational people, but it's even more of an annoyance than usual in this case because your choices are so limited. Even having crossplay between the PlayStation 4 and Steam versions doesn't seem to be enough to bolster this game's population. Not to mention that even if I were to host my own room, I don't have any levels unlocked anyway. So, how do I feel about Ultimate Chicken Horse in the end? It's really great, but only under very specific circumstances. First off, you need to be a fan of 2D platformers, obviously, but secondly, you gotta get this with friends, who are also big into 2D platformers. After all, if one of your buddies isn't very good at the genre, then it's not really a party of 4, it's a party of 3 with one more guy who's always lagging behind. As long as everyone's having fun, then it doesn't really matter, but this definitely seems tailored to people who are specifically fans of the genre and little else. Like I stated earlier, it's always an option to create and share your own levels, and these can be used in multiplayer as well. So there's definitely a lot of room to grow beyond the default 12 levels. But again, this doesn't mean much unless everyone's really into it. The few matches where I got into a room with really cool people of decent skill was an extremely fun and hilarious good time. But that is not something that you can rely on. And don't forget that the simplistic multiplayer is pretty much the only thing worthwhile here, which makes that $15 price tag seem a little hefty. But if you can gather a group of buddies, and this sounds like something you'd all be into, then this is one of the better party games out there and should be well worth considering. Thank you for watching my review on Ultimate Chicken Horse. If you'd like to be updated on my future videos, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter, or check out my page on Critic.